Hello everyone, this is a recent update in regards to Jasmy and also more in particular the Japanese yen denominated stablecoins. I myself and a lot of other researchers have been giving you guys updates in regards to why this is a big deal for almost 3 years now. Why is that? Well, it's because Japanese yen denominated stablecoins is the enablers for mass volume. If you don't believe me on that, check out things like BTC, check out things like Ethereum. So again, let's jump into this. There's also an update in regards to DFFT that I want to talk about. We're going to tie in some, political people into this and make sense of it all. Past, present, and future. But I'll tell you this. Consider sticking around to the end of the outline. Smash that like if you haven't done so. Why is that? It's because you got to understand that this might very well be one of the biggest updates for Jasmy moving forward, because finally we're getting the reports in regards to the institutional players coming on board. There was promises for quite a while now about at the end of summer, or by summer I should say, we should see some things in regards to stable coins. And I know for some people that are new to this space, they'll say, stable coins, that's no big deal, that's just $1. You have to keep in mind that stable coins are always a big deal, but more importantly, let's learn something. Let's jump into the material. Let's take you first over to the recent report from CoinDesk. And you want to know something? I think this is definitely worth pointing out, because here is the new news in that regard. And like it says right here, Japan's major banks back new stablecoin project for global trade. Report about 16 hours ago, but again, I didn't see many people from the community talking about this. So I want to bring it to you guys, starting off with the first part, and that's Project PAX, backed by Japan's top banks, seeks to streamline cross-border transactions using stablecoins, addressing inefficiencies identified, of course, by the G20. Going further down, DataChain, a blockchain startup focused on interoperability, announced that the launch of Project PAX, a stablecoin platform to facilitate cross-border business settlements. But the important thing is understanding that on September 5th, there was an official post in regards to Japan's 3 largest banks. And that's, of course, Mitsubishi UFJ Bank, Sumitomo Mitsui Banking Corporation, and, of course, Mizuho Bank. I've done quite a bit of coverage about this. And also shout out to Rue Black in regards to our collaboration, talking about the significance of Jasmy and even things like Swift. But understanding these are the ones backing the initiative. There's a project collaboration between blockchain companies, as we know, like DataChain, Progmat, and so on. Many people from the research community have posted about this, but you have Toki part of this, and there's expectation, of global participation from financial institutions. We're going to get more into that with some actual interviews tying in the past to the present. Why is this important? It's because of cross-border inefficiency. And you will see a lady from Japan that leads a particular group in Japan in regards to data free flow with trust, DFFT. The 182 trillion global cross-border payments market faces substantial inefficiencies in speed, accessibility, and cost, despite remaining a primary focus for financial institutions. According to the post, the G20 identified these inefficiencies alongside the need for significant improvements, of course, for transparency. In this market, and here's a quotation, Progmat and DataChain aim to leverage stablecoins to enable fast, cost-effective, and 24/7 operational cross-border transfers. Okay, what about stablecoins as a tool for enterprise? Well, Project PAX aims to address the inefficiencies highlighted by the G20 by integrating stablecoins into international business settlement process. The initiative seeks to change the limited adoption of fiat-paid cryptocurrencies, and you heard me right on that, for traditional business operations by using stablecoins as an enterprise payment tool. According to the post, the stablecoin platform will utilize Swift's existing API framework for banks to instruct Progmat to settle on blockchain. Now, in the past, of course, I did collaborations with Rue Black in regards to SWFT, as in Swift blockchain. This is, of course, referring to traditional Swift. I don't want to confuse you guys on this. But if you're wondering, this is to address AML, which means anti-money laundering, / CFT regulatory compliance and operational setup challenges, while also considering difficulties that businesses face in using wallets. As we know, we are still waiting for that beloved Jasmy Super Wallet, but this is a big, huge update in regards to Japanese yen denominated stablecoins. So, as it says, financial institutions are seen to enabling this, and they want to avoid operational redundancy with fiat currency transfers and minimize investment costs. At the end of the day, things need to be not so volatile and have stabilization. So I am going to now bring you over to here, and you're going to see some examples of how we tie everything from the past to the present, and even give you some of this recent reports and why it is so crucial for your understanding. Number one, let's take you to the citation from the one and only NeoXtrix. A lot of you guys follow him. Great proponent of our community of Jasmy. He states in his research, JPYD has been filed for patent by Jasmy Corporation. The consortium comprises more than 70 companies, including Mitsubishi UFJ Financial Group, Rakuten, NTT, Hitachi, Fujitsu, so on and so forth. But you have, for example, all these partners at Jasmy. Who is the perfect blockchain? And a lot of times people think, well, they're not going to list this because of NDAs, but understand he has some great highlights because, like you see on the screen, it talks about a private consortium to launch a digital yen. And again, this is taking you to the past. This is not a recent report, but it's going to pound home everything on why this is important. What's the backstory? Well, it's a consortium of roughly 70 Japanese firms had decided to create their own blockchain-backed digital currency. The consortium includes the 3 mega banks in Japan and has said that it aims to launch the yen-based digital currency, of course, next year. Now, how long ago was this posted? Well, you got to keep in mind, this aged very well because this is roughly 1 year ago. All right? So we're right at all these new announcements about next year. Next year is now. Okay, so DCJPY. Why is this so crucial for your understanding? Well, unlike a central digital bank currency, you have to keep in mind that DCJPY is a bank-run program to digitize existing bank deposits. How many times do you hear me talk about that in regards to like quant and stuff? But it means that participating banks will run a blockchain system that takes account holders' existing holdings and tokenizes them, which is, simply put, that the assets are digitized so that they can be moved around the DCJPY network. Look at this other thing that's highlighted from Neo. The DCJPY is the idea of digital currency forum, which includes 80 major Japanese companies, including the banks of, like what we just shared, like Mitsubishi, UFJ, and so on. You will see straight from Jasmy, plain as day, company profile, Jasmy Incorporated, and you see, for example, President and COO Kazumasa Sato, and when you get further down into it, shows how it was established in 2016, business content, providing platforms and solutions for IoT, but more importantly, the major bank that's involved is Sumitomo Mitsui Banking Corporation, and that is SMBC. Getting more into the outline, here's the other citation from Saiyan, and it talks about some of this, and I have gone ahead and also decided to jump more into it. Why is this important? Well, as you can see, if you ever wondered some of this, you go down to Blackrock's Japan Flexibility Equity Fund, you will see verification about some of the top holdings. And like Saiyan basically mentioned, wonder what Larry Fink is doing in Japan, at least then. Jasmy is sitting quite pretty, aligning well with the web of interest, and not to mention the recent increased holdings, like I mentioned, in Panasonic. So that aged really, really well. Taking a little bit more into this, when you look into people's profiles, more importantly, Hidehiko Kakinuma, understand that he's an executive officer over at Jasmy Management. And after joining Sumitomo Bank, as we know, SMBC, he was transferred to GR HomeNet Corporation, which is currently NTT NTT Plala Inc. Excuse me. And that is where he was engaged with the launch of the ISP business. So this guy is not just somebody that sits in an executive seat who doesn't know squat about the product. And we've seen cases of that, like with companies like Activision. People like don't even work in the real industry that they proclaim to be all gung-ho about. And if you're not aware of it, after moving to Sony Corporation, he was involved in the establishment and business launch of Sony Bank. Also in charge of marketing, service development at SonyStyle.com, Japan, Sony Marketing Inc., and Sony Life Insurance Co. Limited. Again, it's just a matter of time before you see an official announcement about it. But guess what? Sony is written all over Jasmy, and we're not oblivious to that. Also, I want to note this. After doing all this, he worked as the general manager of product development department and the general manager of sales planning department over at Aeon Bank Limited. So he has tons of experience working in the banking sector. And oh, by the way, were you aware that he was also involved in the establishment and business launch of Aeon Allianz Life Insurance? He was appointed as director, joined Jasmy, of course, in February of 2022. Moving forward into it, more forward into the outline, another citation from NeoXtrix goes on to mention that Mr. Hidehiko Kakinuma of Jasmy said this about being, his time at the tenure at Sumitomo Bank and Sony, that he followed the development of the internet since its inception. So again, this is not all new to him, but as the internet grew, he realized that it was the innovative technology, which is blockchain, and therefore he predicted that just like the internet changed the world, blockchain would also have a huge impact on the world. And he thinks that a phenomenon similar to IT revolution will be repeated with the advent of blockchain. This is why we decided to take on the challenges of entering as quickly as possible. In my opinion, Jasmy has first mover advantage because where they're strategically located. Japan is all gung-ho for blockchain and DLT. The regulations prove that. Getting more into the outline, a little bit more from NeoXtrix. Give him a follow if you haven't done so already at Bana817. We had to talk about the other one that was listed on the list from the recent report. The Progmat project in Japan and stablecoins launch planned for this summer, just like stablecoin of Jasmy and Apex. In Japan, a collaboration between Mitsubishi UFJ Trust and banking corporation MUFG, Progmat Inc., and JPYD Inc. aims to accelerate the digitization of Web3 by launching a study on issuing a new stablecoin. And by the way, JPYD as well on exchanges between domestic and foreign stablecoins. I've been talking about this for a couple of years. But the point is, like he says, the stablecoin will be backed by fiduciary assets held by a trust and issued on a regulated platform, which is called the Progmat coin. The study aims to improve liquidity, interoperability in stablecoin markets, and therefore contributing to the development of a Web3 market infrastructure course in Japan. The JPYD trust type will offer benefits such as cash redemption and no restrictions on transfer amounts. And think about this. The requirement of holding a certain amount of Jasmy to get the benefits of this, whether you choose to monetize some of that data or not, is absolutely profound if you understand the utility of Jasmy. But additionally, JPYD Inc. plans to issue a stablecoin for summer 2024. We're basically almost entering into fall. So was there a delay? Seems to be the case, but whatever the case be, we're finally getting some news about this. Why? Because you got to understand, it's all being into compliance with Japanese regulations. So for one, Jasmy already did that years ago with the establishment of being regulatory compliant, of course, with regulations in Japan, FSA, and so on. But the point is, moving forward, understanding that intermediaries distributing foreign stablecoins must also comply with the revised Payment Services Act. And while users can choose to hold their stablecoins in self-custody wallets, the initiative is expected to represent a significant advancement in the stablecoin market in Japan. This update, you guys, if you're new to all this and you're just saying to yourself, stablecoin is not a big deal, it's an absolute huge deal. Look at other projects that put a lot of emphasis on for example, stablecoins. You have, for example, Stellar. You have Quant. You have Ripple as XRP. Remember RLUSD? There's a reason why that's such a big deal. And if anything, this is why I put a lot of emphasis on this. Getting into a little bit more of the visuals just for a brief moment, because I'm sure you want to see some of what Neo has. He posted this a while back, and that is what you see in regards to issuance, and it's some of those joint studies on the issuance of a new stablecoin. Again, you see the reference to JPYC. It's a trust type stablecoin, and it's the exchange between domestic and overseas stablecoins. And you see, for example, how it all ties into JPYC, whether it's MUFG and some other particular entities that are here. But at the end of the day, is there any future plans? Well, it mentions 2024, so the answer is yes. In order to be able to, like it says here on the bottom, handle stablecoins, electronic settlement methods as a business in Japan, it is compulsory to obtain the newly established electronic settlement methods transaction business provider license under the revised Payment Services Act. Taking the timeline into account, we aim to issue JPYC trust type in the summer of 2024. Well, as we know, with Japan, they're like a little bit behind with everybody else because they have a different kind of calendar. So is it still basically their summer? That's up to the debate. Let me know what you think. But I thought this was also good because when we get into this, you will see that there's roles at each party, right? And that is basically this. Who's going to develop the platform? Who's going to issue it? Who's going to be the issuer, such trustee? And of course, as you can see, every single one of these, when we look more into it, especially in the past, are all tied to Jasmy. So that's definitely a big deal. And if anything, that connection to Ripple, like some of us have pointed out, I talked about in the past, Will Fix has talked about in the past. Shout out to, for example, Dip Metaverse did a great outline about it. But here's, again, the example. So I'm going to actually just use it for a second. In the visual, hold on a second, let's put it over there. What do you see in that illustration? You see a great example of an actual individual user app. Is that basically like a signification of the super wallet? Well, could very well be, but here's the bottom line. You see how you have issuance, how it kicks over the financial institutions, but one fiat equals one NC, and it's that right to redeem at a fixed value. Progmat coin in the middle, but again, understanding how the PDL will come into factor and be a big deal as far as bringing all of this, of course, together. All right, a little bit more about this. This is also good stuff. Let's take you over to here. Why is this important? Well, it's understanding that Mitsubishi UFJ Trust and Banking Corporation, as well as all these ones from that new report. Again, what do you see? You see basically the establishment of Progmat Inc. as national infrastructure towards digital asset market in, of course, Japan. And of course, that came full circle. Literally, it's like a circle. But through the alliance, the 8 partner companies will smoothly implement co-creation areas with standardized format and realize an overwhelming improvement in convenience for market participants, thereby enhancing the development and competitiveness of the digital asset market in, of course, Japan. Shout out to the one and only Houston with his great research, part of the Jasmy underground research community. And he has citations from the patents, and this dates back for a while now. He originally posted this, I believe, just a couple months ago, or 3 months ago almost, right? June 20th. But you see here how this all adds up. And again, you can look more into it if you want to nerd it out, but the application numbers definitely match. And like he says, note, if anyone knows what this trademark of JPY, JP, I think it's a typo, by Jasmy. Today, Coinbase, at least then, added, for example, some of these other ones. But again, I mean, come on. When you get more into this, it's understanding, like he says, Mika is just the beginning, and it's the real battle between like the legacy systems, the old financial institutions like crypto whales and so on. But you can't be naive to think that the old financial system is weak and will lose this battle. Again, Jasmy is already regulated, and sooner or later, Japan, I should say, will have their own stablecoin. All right. So I would agree with the statement. He says, who knows, maybe JPYD trademarked by Jasmy is the data yen or yen backed by data. And of course, what does he see right here? As we blow this up on the other screen to make it bigger for you guys to see it, you see numerous citations in regards to what? The issuance numbers of the applications on the patents, etc., etc., trademark holder and trademark applicant, Jasmy Co., and constantly references some of these things. And what do we see right here? Trademark holder on registration 6802251, trademark holder and trademark applicant, Jasmy Co. Limited, trademark classification, class 35, class 36. The name, naming JPY, because that's how you pronounce it, they character trademark JPYD. That is absolutely huge. And to also pound it home just a little bit more, if you want to see it from other people other than just researchers, I think that's Houston. Houston, you're awesome. Thank you, brother. Look at this. This is really, really great. Japanese stablecoin. It would be huge. What USDT, which is Tether and Ethereum, are for each other. JPYD and Jasmy would do the same. Do the same? And of course, he said Jasmy to the moon, blah, blah, blah. But this is your boil it, mash it, stick in the stew, because like it says, this particular patent attorney corporation, right, is a litigation representative, and it's from Yoshinori Nishino. And it says, let's check what kind of trademark applications Jasmy Co. Limited has filed. What kind of trademark applications Jasmy Co. Limited has filed is also basic information for my understanding the future business development of Jasmy Co. And again, just like what you saw from Houston, pounds it home again, because you say it plain as day, JPYD. This is the moment we've all been waiting for, because we should see massive volume coming in. And what a time for it to come in. The market is absolutely bloody, as we know. It's just, the market's way, way down, right? So look at this. Just in case you need another citation, Investopedia, what's the bottom line in regards to this? Like it says, stablecoins are cryptocurrencies pegged with other assets such as fiat, currency, or commodities held in reserve. The intent behind them is to create a crypto asset with much more lower price volatility, which makes them better for use in transactions. Why is that? Well, think about it, guys. Don't get twisted. It's Japan. It's always been Japan, and it always will be Japan. Look at the Mt. Gox situation. They can't have everything. They can't have anything, really, with a lot of volatility. So this is extremely bullish for Jasmy if you understand some of this stuff. And the other thing I want to get into is basically this. Let's actually stop the screen for a second and listen to this. DFFT. This is a big deal. You got to hear it for yourself. And then on top of that, I'm going to play something from Donald Trump and RFK Jr. And wow, listen to it. Not going to be real long. Listen to that. We'll come back. We'll wrap this up on why all of this is extremely important moving forward for Jasmy. Here we go.
And he told me that he wanted to end the censorship because the whole basis of American democracy is the free flow of information. And we know that a government that can silence its opponents has license for any kind of atrocity. And can you think of any time that you can look back in history and say that the people who were censoring were the good guys? They're always the bad guys, because it's always the first step down that slippery slope to totalitarianism.
When you focus on the certain technological means or even knowledge on the data, this probably comes from the multi-stakeholder tech community, universities, businesses, rather than governments ourselves. There was always the political priorities on DFFT coming from G7, G20, and other high-level political forums.
Welcome back. So, wrapping things up, I want to talk about this whole thing about this JPY stablecoin. Guys, keep in mind this, all right? It's a cornerstone of Jasmy's future. It's a cornerstone for Japan moving forward. You got to keep in mind that JPYD is a stablecoin, as we know. But would it be really issued by Jasmy Corporation? I mean, all of what we researched points that it could very well be, right? You got the trademarks. You see Jasmy listed there. But as we know, Jasmy is a Japanese IoT Internet of Things platform. It's designed to be pegged, of course, with this particular stablecoin itself is supposed to be pegged to the Japanese yen. And that, of course, provides a stable and predictable value that wouldn't provide so much volatility to cryptocurrency market. But there's a lot of significance there in regards to JPYD for Jasmy. So number one, out of about roughly 3 things I want to get into, you have to keep in mind it's the bridging of traditional and digital economies. So I could talk to you guys till you're blue in the face about interoperability, especially when it comes to quant and that's significant. So we've been there and done that. But does JPYD provide interoperability? Well, it would. It would enable seamless transactions between the traditional Japanese financial systems and, of course, the digital world. This bridge in itself bridges the gap and facilitates easier adoption, of course, of Jasmy services. Why? Because you're not giving people a second guess. They don't have to second guess it because it has already met compliance and it absolutely crosses all the T's and dots all the I's because it would be stable. So with that said, would that facilitate easier adoption, of course, of Jasmy services? Yes. But again, trust and confidence. What we saw literally in quotations about trust and this particular stablecoin does show trust and confidence, but the stablecoin is direct link to, of course, JPY. Huge. Because as we know, we get to the point of that being a widely accepted currency, especially for Japan, is game changer because it would instill trust and confidence in users and investors. Let me say what you want. What you just saw from data free flow with trust, all of that is really, really aging well for Jasmy and, of course, Japan, because we all want to see trust and confidence be instilled in users, but more importantly, the investors. All right. Would it expand the use cases for things like Jasmy and other use cases that benefit the economy of Japan? Yes, absolutely, because it provides 2 of these key things, and that is a payment gateway. JPYD can be integrated into payment gateways, making it easier, of course, for businesses to accept cryptocurrency payments while mitigating their risks associated with price fluctuations. It's just a matter of time you get more info in regards to what is referred to as finance democracy in Jasmy with Ripple moving forward. But that's another outline for another day. But again, back to the whole thing of Jasmy's original goal and their vision. And that is what? IoT ecosystem, Internet of Things ecosystem. With Jasmy's IoT ecosystem, JPYD can be used for various transactions, such as device purchases. That's a given. Data sharing, subscription fees. Creates more interconnected and efficient ecosystem. Say what you want. The beautiful thing about IoT is many, many different use cases, right? You want to talk about Jasmy having a utility token? My goodness, tons of utility. All right. So getting to that stage of ecosystem, would it create a strengthening of just that? Well, the answer is also yes with that. Because the bottom line is, whether it's stellar or quant and you name it, it's attracting developers to build on the platform. So the stability of JPYD can attract developers, of course, to build applications on what? The Jasmy platform. And combine that maybe with the super wallet in the future and so on, that's going to be a big deal. But you better believe they can rely on a predictable currency for their operations, especially if it is one that is not so volatile. I mean, that's the whole point of stablecoins, stable value. All right. Would we see the development team be encouraged with adoption? The answer is also yes on that. How so? By providing JPYD stablecoin, this would be what would be referred to as like a familiar payment option. Something similar to like what you see with Circle and some other stablecoins. But JPYD in itself would encourage, of course, wider adoption of Jasmy's services among both consumers, and of course, businesses. Bottom line is this: in essence, JPYD serves as a crucial building block, of course, for Jasmy's future moving forward. There's nothing wrong with wanting to provide a stable foundation for the platform and expand, of course, its utility. There's a lot of utility already there, but it's the competitiveness for IoT and cryptocurrency markets. I mean, as we know, in Japan, there's also, for example, things like A-Star, and I think that's a good project, right? And they have a legitimate Sony connection. But do they have what Jasmy has with this particular stablecoin? That in itself could be game changer even for A-Star and Jasmy moving forward, because it creates what? A pairing. JPYD with A-Star? Think about it. JPYD with many other different projects. Think about that. And again, understand the benefits of what the PDL can provide to each and every one of those platforms. So with that said, thank you so much for tuning in. I do appreciate you guys. Let me know if you stuck around to the end of the outline. And if you did, simply type this into the comments. And that is JPYD. And I'll know that you listened to the entire outline. Really appreciate you guys. I'm rooting for all your success moving forward. Know what you have. Know why you hold it. The research trumps FUD 110%. We'll see you on the next one.
If managing your crypto feels like solving a puzzle, it's time to switch to Decent Wallet. Say goodbye to complicated setups and hello to Decent Wallet, the hassle-free solution to your digital currency needs. With just a few taps, you can manage, track, and secure your crypto with unmatched ease. And here's the best part. Grab your Decent Wallet at a discounted price by using the referral link below. Don't miss out on making your crypto experience smoother and more secure.